Hey guys, I'm Dominic, and in this video tutorial we'll be discussing topic number 2. I'll be focusing on incentives and marginal analysis. Rational actors operate where their marginal benefits equal or exceed their marginal costs, or where MR equals MC. Likewise, businesses operate where marginal revenue equals marginal costs. This means that a company, for example, will hire workers until the marginal benefit of doing so, that is, the increased utility of one additional unit, stops exceeding the marginal cost. In an imperfect market such as this, marginal revenue falls much faster than average revenue because the more common a unit, the less an additional one will bring to the table. This is why businesses can't infinitely hire workers. Finally, when you hear the term marginal change, this means small incremental adjustments to any plan of action. You should now pause to answer questions 1 and 2. For question 1, A is correct because individuals try to maximize their gains by having their benefits exceed their costs. For question 2, B correctly defines marginal change. Policymakers use incentives which entice people to act in certain ways to encourage certain behaviors. For example, the government taxes cigarettes to try and limit their use. When incentives aren't fully considered, however, we get unintended consequences. For example, mandatory seatbelt laws lead people to feel safer in a car and possibly drive more recklessly as a result, increasing auto accidents and endangering pedestrians. You can now answer question 3. C is correct, because there may be incentives within policies that were unplanned and therefore cause unintended consequences. That's all from me. I'll hand you over to Ralph.
Thank you, Professor Braithwaite. Today, I'm going to be talking about some fallacies and some key economic terms you need to know for Chapter 1 of Microeconomics. Let's start with the post hoc fallacy. The post hoc fallacy states that because event X happened before event Y, event X must have caused event Y. For example, because the Eagles won the Super Bowl last season, they're going to win the Super Bowl this season as well. The second fallacy we'll be talking about is the fallacy of composition, which states what must be true of the part must be true of the whole. Take, for example, Carson Wentz, who's a mediocre NFL quarterback. Because he's mediocre, that must mean that the Eagles are a mediocre NFL team. The last fallacy we'll be talking about is the fallacy of decomposition, which is just the opposite of fallacy of composition, which states that what must be true of the whole must be true of a part. For example, if the Eagles are a trash team, the defensive backs of the Eagles must be complete garbage. Now, let's talk about some key economic terms you need to know from Chapter 1. Scarcity is the fact that the limited resources of society cannot produce goods and services to meet society's wants. Another word you need to know is efficiency, which is obtaining the maximum benefit from the scarce resources. Remember, the scarce resources are land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship. Another vocab term you need to know is market failure, which happens when a market is not efficient. For example, externalities. Positive and negative externalities occur because of an underallocation or overallocation of resources, respectively.